urged that the evidence adduced by the prosecution in the retracted confession of the fifth accused person did not implicate the third accused in any way. Mr. Muchere, for the fourth accused, urged that the retracted statement of the fifth accused places the fourth accused in Mavoko Law Court in the isolated area at Soweto and at Oldonyo Sapu, and in every action of the commission of the offense, he urged that the statement came late in the day after the arrest of the fourth accused, which was deliberately written to book the fourth accused into the offense by co-joining him with the first accused, who he deputized at work. He urged that the confession fails to fix the fourth accused, as he gave account of where he was in his statement that was produced in court and taken from him on the 4th of July 2016. Counsel urged that his mobile data, Exhibit 98B, placed him away from the scenes of murder. I have considered the rival submissions of defense counsels and the state. The fifth accused had earlier at the trial moved this court by way of a notice of motion dated 7th of August 2019, seeking the court to review its ruling, his earlier ruling admitting the retracted confession of the fifth accused in this court's ruling of the 16th of May 2019. Secondly, he sought the court to issue any order it deemed necessary. At the time, Mr. Michoke's grounds for the application were that confessions were generally inadmissible in this jurisdiction, that the court erred in finding that the provisions of Section 6 of the Evidence Act applied to the question of admissibility of the statement of confession, that out-of-court confessions and all ancillary provisions of law were outlawed and repealed, respectively, by Section 99 of the Criminal Law Amendment Act 2003, and that the evidence out-of-court confession rules have no force of law. This court considered the issue of admissibility or otherwise of the statement by the fifth accused and made a ruling on it after testing whether the statement was recorded in compliance to the relevant provisions of the Evidence Act and the Evidence Out-of-Court Confessions Rules 2009 through a trial within a trial, and also whether he made it voluntarily. This court had dismissed the application for reason that although it was clothed as an application for review, it was for all purposes an appeal against the ruling of the court. The application was urging the court to find that it erred in interpretation of the relevant law, effectively urging the court to sit on appeal on its own decision. So this court cannot review or reconsider the admissibility of the statement. What the court can do is consider the entire evidence and weigh it for two things. One, whether there is independent evidence which would lead to a conclusion that what the fifth accused stated in his retracted statement must be true, and two, when consider whether there is evidence of some material particular which implicates the fifth accused and establishes that he is guilty of the offense. So before I consider the probative value of the retracted confession, I wish to draw a distinction between a repudiated and a retracted confession. In the case of Ongero Omurwa versus Republic, the court has discussed in detail whether there is any real distinction between these two, and quoted in extenso and with approval the observations that were made by the Court of Appeal of East Africa in that regard in the famous decision of Tuamoi versus Uganda, where the court said that we now come to the distinction that has been made over the years between a statement retracted and a statement repudiated. The basic difference is, of course, that a retracted statement occurs when the accused person admits that he made the statement recorded, but now seeks to recant, to take back what he said, generally on the ground that he had been forced or induced to make the statement. In other words, that the statement was not a voluntary one. On the other hand, a repudiated statement is one which the accused person avers that he never made. Now, a repudiated statement is one which the accused person denies making. A retracted confession is a statement made by an accused person before the trial begins, by which he admits to have committed the offense, but which he disowns at the trial. And confession is said to be retracted only where the accused person admits that he made the confession and then denies the truth either in part or whole, or to what is stated therein. So the statement of the fifth accused, Exhibit 90, falls under this category, that the fifth accused person admitted he made the statement to the police, but denies portions of what is stated therein, and has gone further through his own defense, varied portions of that confession. So the correct test to apply in order to determine the probative value of a retracted confession was discussed by the Court of Appeal in the case of Vijay Kumar, which I have quoted. Maybe I can just read that portion. The learned judge was obviously satisfied that the confessions were the truth of what occurred that night, but did not act on them alone. He accepted them with a caution, realizing they were both retracted and repudiated, and he was careful to look for corroboration of each one. This was, no doubt, in accordance with the principles set out in Tuamoi versus Uganda. Now, there are many other cases I've quoted, which I do not want to go into. So these are the guiding principles of testing a retracted confession in order to determine its value. So the first step to take is to consider whether the retracted statement is the truth of what happened. The statement under inquiry made by the fifth accused is a clear admission of his guilt, and he stated that as much on oath as he sought to qualify his confession with oral evidence, that he was not denying that he was involved in the murders of the deceased person, but wanted to show that his role was not as stated in the confession. Now, in the retracted confession, the fifth accused goes into detail and describes how the plot to kill the second deceased person was hatched and planned, days to the material day of the murder, naming the perpetrator as the first accused, giving the reason for the first accused's desire to do so as a threat to his job due to a report of misuse of firearm and unlawful wounding that the second deceased had filed against him with IPOA, which agency was on his back. He gives the names of the others involved by what appears to be nicknames, but describes some of them like Kamau and Sergeant Mwangi of Spiff team. He then went into great details of the trail on the deceased persons on the 23rd of June 2016 from Mavoko Law Courts, where they attended a trial against the second deceased, the rail crossing behind Mavoko where the three were kidnapped, and their vehicle given to the fifth accused who disposed it in Kamerudu, their holding at the post, their removal to Soweto open field where they were murdered, and the journey by road in two vehicles to Kilimambogo, Oldonyo, Sapu, where their bodies were hurled into the river Adi, and the celebration sponsored by the first accused and his wife, defense witness number 16, for the completion of the assignment. I have considered the evidence adduced by the witnesses in this case, the forensic and other evidence, to find out if there is any convergence with the retracted confession of the fifth accused. The fifth accused testified that he was introduced to the first accused by the OCS, Chief Inspector Lelei, PW20, in April 2016. Now, PW20 admitted that the fifth accused went to greet him at the Mlolongo police station around the alleged time, soon after he had been transferred there, having worked with him as his informer previously in a different station. That explains how the fifth accused visited Mlolongo police station in the first place, making the evidence that he got to know the first accused, among others, at the police station not a remote one at all. Now, before I state what I need to state here, it should be noted that P Exhibit 90, that is the retracted confession, was recorded on the 9th of August 2016, while the trajectory evidence on the phone, vehicle, plate identification, and police radio phone data had not been availed. The data was availed as from the 14th of October 2016. This then means that timings and sites in the retracted confession, Exhibit 90, was from the fifth accused's own knowledge and memory. The variation I noted between the fifth accused's retracted confession and the data of his phone, which was Exhibit 105B, was minimal, being a difference of few hours, and did not materially affect the statement. I sought for corroboration in the evidence of witnesses and other forensic evidence as part not only of testing the retracted confession, but also as part of exercising caution and careful consideration of the same. The statement shows the movements made by the perpetrators of this murder, kidnap outside Mavoko locals, pressings at around 11, to the journey to the post, to the removal of the deceased persons just after 7 p.m., the journey to Soweto, open field, and eventual trip to Oldonyo Sapuk in the Kilimambogo, where the bodies were disposed of. These movements were captured in the data of the fifth accused phone, which is Exhibit 105B, and to give a detailed summary, so the data shows that the fifth accused line 0727433431 on the 23rd of June 2016 was at Mlolongo Police Station at 9:17 hours. He was at Esa Adriva 9:43 a.m. to 11:45 a.m. at Adriva at 12:02, at Cameredo 2 p.m. to 2 June the same night, 2 a.m. to 2:53 p.m. Now, PW36 testified that the police pocket phone, IMEA number 8641060-200-198-73, which was Exhibit 25, on the 23rd of June 2017, the said pocket phone was captured in various sites of interest as per its data, which was Exhibit 79. It was located at Mavoko locals at between 12 and 12:20 hours, at Syokimau AP post between 12:20 and 12:40 hours, at Mombasa Road between 13:40 and 14:40, at Mlolongo Police Station 15:20 to 15:40, between 18:40 to 1900 hours it was at Syokimau AP post. Then between 1900 to 1920 hours, it was captured along Mombasa Road. At 1940 hours, it was at the isolated area in Soweto, where it was stationary for 5 hours. At about midnight, the pocket phone was sighted at the southern bypass on the way to Thika Road. PW36 stated that the radio in question was recovered from the first accused when he was arrested on the 1st of July 2016. That trajectory of the phone, which was Exhibit 79, is in tandem with the retracted confession of the fifth accused in every respect. It shows that the first accused was present in those sites as shown herein above, as the fifth accused stated in the retracted confession. Now, the other evidence which speaks to what is contained in the confession of the fifth accused is the evidence of PW 10, 11, and 12, residents of Soweto isolated area. From their evidence, they confirm sighting one, then later 2 vehicles parked within the vast isolated area. Their evidence confirms that the persons they saw standing around the vehicles were 4. They saw one with a police phone and one smoking a cigarette, that they remained in that area from around 7 p.m. way past 11 p.m. that night, that they identified themselves as police officers, and all these details were in tandem with the confession by the fifth accused. The retrieval of the bodies of the deceased on the 30th of June and 1st of July 2016 from the River Athi, 7 days after the murder in respect of the first and third deceased, and 8 days in respect of the second deceased, all confirmed the retracted confession of the fifth accused that he was telling the truth concerning the entire process. The postmortem findings confirmed that the fifth accused, what the fifth accused said, that the deceased were murdered. Now, the evidence on the data that is Exhibit 79, which was from the radio, Exhibit 25, the evidence on the note, Exhibit 10, the note, I think was Exhibit 7, the evidence of PW 10, 11, and 12, the evidence of PW 20, the OCS, and the evidence of the retrieval of the bodies of the deceased from the River Athi comprises of independent evidence. That evidence was consistent with the retracted confession of the fifth accused and confirms that what was stated in the confession was the truth. Furthermore, the note Exhibit 7 collected outside the container used as a cell at the post bearing the handwritings of the first deceased are proof beyond any reasonable doubt that the first deceased had been taken to the post on the 23rd of June 2016 in the afternoon, as the fifth accused stated. The other evidence was a vehicle KBX 126C, which ferried the deceased to the Mavoko locals, which was recovered in Kameredu, just as described by the fifth accused. The fifth accused DNA from the cigarette butts recovered at the Soweto open field where the murders took place. I have carefully considered the retracted confession and the other evidence, as well as I cautioned myself of the danger of relying on the retracted confession of the fifth accused, Exhibit 90, having considered all the circumstances of the case and bearing in mind the independent evidence as enumerated herein above, which I found to be consistent with the retracted confession of the fifth accused. I'm satisfied that the fifth accused stated what the fifth accused stated in his retracted evidence was the truth and details what happened in this case. The retracted confession stated clearly the plot and the plan to murder, the different roles played by the various actors, to ensure seamless execution of their plan and murder of the deceased and the disposal of the bodies of the deceased 100 kilometers or more from the scene of murder. I am satisfied that taking all the evidence and the surrounding circumstances of the case into consideration, that there is no reason to believe that the retracted confession by the fifth accused is not. Sorry. I'm satisfied, taking all the evidence and the surrounding circumstances of the case into consideration, that there is no reason to believe the retracted confession by the fifth accused is not the truth of how the deceased met their death on the material day. I must at this juncture set out the fifth accused's own statement in his defense in court, the difference between the sworn defense and the retracted confession. In his own defense, the fifth accused maintains the structure of his story in the retracted confession, but drops some names and brings in new names into the conspiracy of the murders and the execution of the deceased persons, as well as varies the role he played in the murders. He stated that when he realized that PW 20 Chief Inspector Lele was in Mlolongo police station, he started going there to sell jeans, which is what he did for a living, that he did so on the 22nd of June 2016, and that on the 23rd June 2016, very early in the morning, he received a call from PW 26, PC Wilson Kamau, asking him to report to Mlolongo police station that morning, which he did and was there by 8:30 a.m. He said that he found PW6 with one Waingo and one Kamenjo, both police officers, that PW26 told him that there was a Kamwizi, a thief, that he was due to go to court for his trial that same day, and that he wanted to eliminate him. and that his role, that is the role of the fifth accused, was to keep track of the man and keep reporting to Kamau. That at the same time, PW26 gave him a phone number to use while calling him, saying his had gone off, and of that number, he could only recall 0786. He also changed the story, saying it was PW26 who called him to describe how the man he was to track was dressed. The other variation he makes in his own defense is that the Toyota NZD was with one Brown and not Kamenjo, as he had stated in his confession. Kamenjo was also